Yom HaShabbos, Mizmor Shir, Shir LeYom HaShabbos, Mizmor Shir, Shir LeYom HaShabbos, Mizmor Shir, Shir LeYom HaShabbos, the whole world is waiting.
Greetings!
If you haven't figured it out, it's that time of week again. It's 2.5 Opinions.
I'm Yishai.
I'm Frank, the irreverent one.
Not the Rebbe is not here at this juncture in time.
Yeah.
I think it's the 2 weeks.
Yeah, so.
Yeah.
So we've
But
got
yeah,
this Torah portion thing. And what's the name of it?
Vayet Hanan is the
Vayet
name of this Torah portion.
Okay,
which-
and that what I beseeched?
Yes.
No,
Or
it is.
well, it's, let's see, Vayet Hanan El Hashem.
So I beseeched God. Okay.
Yes, Vayet Hanan is Moses stating that this Torah portion is about how he beseeched God.
Okay.
How he begged for God to let him in.
Okay.
This is an interesting Torah portion.
It beseech sounds like, Old English, like, a rose by any other name would smell as sweet.
Well, you could always use I entreated.
Okay, all right. I entreated. Entreated.
Treated.
Entreat. There's a treant in this?
Oh,
what?
My word! No plants. He
Okay.
pleaded before God.
Oh,
God on this one.
Okay. So, pleaded. Wait a second. Pleaded as in skirt?
Okay, now this has become so ridiculous already.
Well, but then again, we're not exactly serious all the time now, are we?
Well, from what we've learned, this is essentially one of those situations where Moses says, please, let me in. I want to see the land you promised my people.
Yeah.
And God says, sorry, no, you messed up. And because you are closer to me, a minor infraction is a major infraction in comparison to all those other people that you've been walking through the wilderness. So, sorry, you can't make it.
So, again, the closer to the fire, the easier it is to get burned. Is that what you're trying to say?
I believe so. And I believe there's more to it than meets the eye on that front. Because we always say that it was Moses striking the rock that sent Moses into the position of he can't go into the land.
Well, but in truth, it was him striking the rock the second time.
Yes.
Not just once. So, and I think the statement, all you here, you arrogant people. And essentially, it's not exactly the quote, but that's essentially what he was saying. Well, what
I believe, well, at least covering what we've understood, I believe that there are multiple reasons why God said he could not go into the land.
Okay, but what are we going to read that covers
that covers that? Well, let's see. I would say the first aliyah, but that covers what I want to discuss. What you want to discuss is in, I believe, the fourth aliyah, if I'm not mistaken. Let me double check.
Chapter 5, verse 28, 29, 30? Yeah.
Actually, it's in the fifth aliyah.
What about the maftir? If that would that?
We could, it won't. The Maftir essentially will cover everything that is understandable about the Torah portion. So yeah, we could hit the Maftir.
Okay. All right. All right. So, and for those who are following along, we're available to talk to on the bulletin board. No, where do they go on YouTube? And
Well, on YouTube, there is a comment section right next to this video. It should
okay,
be right over here. Right over here. Yes.
right over there.
Exactly. And this is the comments where we can even show your comments on the video so that everyone knows where the comments is coming from.
Oh, don't you dare! Don't you dare shame people for misspelling words.
I'm not shaming them for misspelling words. They want to join in. I can easily show them how to leave their comments here.
True, true. So yeah, go on over to the comment section. You know, comment, talk to us, ask us questions. We may not have an answer for you, but hey, you never know.
You never know.
So, yeah.
We'll try our best in this case.
Okay.
But anyways, yeah, let's go ahead and cover them off tier. That seems like a synopsis version of covering the entire Torah portion.
Okay. All right. Even one.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to say something else.
No.
All right. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bakar banu mikol ha'amim bitan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai notein haTorah. Melech Naaman.
Amen. And we are in reading the Maftir portion read from Chabad.org's translation. Know therefore that the Lord your God, He is God, the faithful God, who keeps the covenant and loving kindness with those who love Him and keep His commandments to 1,000 generations. And He repays those who hate Him to their face to cause them to perish. He will not delay the one who hates Him, but He will repay him to His face. You shall therefore observe the commandments, the statutes, and the ordinances, which I command you this day to do.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah imet b'kayei olam nota b'tukenu. Baruch atah Adonai notein haTorah. Melech Naaman.
Amen.
Okay, so
I think that Maftir covers what we're going to try to cover today better than what I originally thought.
well, you know it. Okay, so I'm gonna let you go first.
Oh, okay.
All right. So give a synopsis real quick, and then we'll go over the main points.
Well, the Torah portion opens up with with Moses saying to the children of Israel, I entreated to the Lord at the time, saying, O Lord, you've begun to show your servant greatness, strong hand, who is like you under the heavens, your deeds and your might. Let me cross the Jordan and go into the land that you promised us. I'm paraphrasing now. But the Lord was angry with me because of you. This is Moses talking to the people. The Lord was angry with me because of you. He did not listen to me. And the Lord said, it is enough for you. Speak to me no more in regard of this manner. And then from there it explains, go up to the top of the mountain, lift your eyes westward, northward, southward, eastward to see with your eyes, but you shall not cross into this Jordan. But command Joshua and strengthen him and encourage him, for he will cross over before this people, and he will make them inherit a land which you will see. So from what the question has always been asked, especially because of the way Moses words it here, the question is, why does Moses, not only in this Torah portion, but the previous Torah portion, the one we weren't present for, why does Moses say, I was not allowed into the land because of you? That seems like an odd thing to say to the people you've led through 40 plus years through the wilderness.
Well,
Though it is
personally, I think Moses did an exceptional job not losing his temper until, later on. I mean, come on. You got roughly 600,000 men. That's men of age of out to go to be able to go out to go to war. That's not including the women and the children. Okay. You're looking at 1.5, maybe 3 million people. I think he did an admirable job holding his temper for that long.
I believe he did, especially I agree with you there, especially with how many times Moses flat out said, God, don't destroy them. Come on.
Yeah, I
Cool
mean,
yourself. Don't worry.
he
Don't
put
destroy
himself
them.
on the line at least 3 times that I can recall, and a couple times he said, look, you're going to destroy them, blot me out of your book. I
And
mean, come on.
Aaron even stood in between a plague,
Yeah,
saying, God, this is where I request that you stop the plague. Don't kill any more people.
right.
He put himself in the firing line, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, and it's no wonder that Aaron and Moses are looked at with, you could say, hero worship. Okay, uh, even Joshua. But the thing is that if we boil it down to the bare essentials of what's going on, it's like Chris says, the closer you are to the fire, the easier it is to get burned. So even a minor infraction has drastic consequences, which we see later on in history about, was it Rabbi Akiva and his Talmudim? There was a minor infraction by one of the Talmudim, and all of the Talmudim died. At least that's the story. I'm not a yeshiva student, so I don't know. But
Since I haven't looked into it a lot, if we had not the Rebbe here, he probably would be able to cast judgment on that. But since we don't, that is interesting, and I can see how that could be a thing. Considering, I mean, we even have a question here up here that tries to. This has an interesting way of viewing it. Moshe saved the death of the Israelites with the golden calf, but did the people try to save Moses? I can understand that point of view, considering the way that the situation with Moses and the people went. The people were they had a very slave-like mentality. They received, but they never really gave, in a sense. They gave what they were ordered to give. There have been a few exceptions to the rule. I see that look on your face. There have been multiple exceptions to the rule, but it's usually the more they were requesting, less reciprocating, if you will.
so they were acting like spoiled, rotten children.
Yeah, I can see that, and that would probably make better sense with the whole understanding of that question. Did the people try to save Moses? We don't see in Torah where they ever pleaded to God saying, spare Moses because we want him to continue with us. It does make sense to hear that.
Moses and Aaron fell on their face and go, please, Lord, no, please don't destroy them. I mean, where else do you see another person in the Torah basically laying down before the king of all, and saying, if you destroy them, take my life too. Just blot me out of your book.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, these are the words of somebody who truly cares about the children of Israel. That's a lot of it's a lot of guts. It's a lot of personal caring about what's going on, and not wanting the children to die, or pay a price needlessly because of something that they did that they didn't understand what they were doing. I mean, to be fair, I think we can say that they were brought up amidst idols, idol worshippers, even though they were slaves, and even though, according to tradition, the Levites kept the laws in front of the people's face. But when you got backbreaking work all the time, you're being set upon by the taskmasters. You're where do you put your mind? It goes straight to survival. What do I need to do to survive? Your actualization of what was it? Maslow's table of actualization. It's self realization goes higher on the pyramid, and it's least. It's survival for me. It's food for me, shelter for me, and then it percolates up. Comes to self-actualization. And
I see what you're saying. Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Correct. Yeah. And I mean, it's really, where do you put yourself on that?
Considering the way the children of Israel were,
yeah,
even dealing with a second generation, they still had a sort of slave-like mentality because they were raised by the parents that were taken out of Egypt. There's even that possibility that those who were 20 or younger got to survive the 40 years in the wilderness, but they experienced the things that God had done to Egypt, and they were the slaves as well. So it very well could be that we're still dealing with a slave mentality in and amongst all of this.
Mm-hmm. Okay, why don't you look at the?
But let's see. Yeah, the people did not want to hear the Most High in a way, hence Moses was a mouthpiece. So maybe they felt left or did not think they could request to save the man who went out of his way to speak on their behalf.
Yeah.
I can see that based on the slave mentality that they had at that time frame. It does make sense.
True, but
I will offer another suggestion, though.
Yeah.
And this one I recently found out. I was trying to explain it earlier before the show, and hopefully I can do a better job explaining it this time. I'm going to admit that I chose to be a bread thief on this one, because this came from an idea from watching the videos from aleph-beta.org, for those who actually want to
some good videos.
Check them out. They are
decent information there.
They are fantastic videos. They and Virtual Bet Midrash are good sources that I learned about from my father, and he told me these are good places if you can't figure out something in Torah. This might help you. Well, this time one of them did help me. There was a discussion about maybe there's another reason why Moses was not allowed into the land. And
no. It's just God. He's arbitrary. He's
And this one's going to delve into a rather interesting subject that's going to probably turn a lot of people off. Just warning, free warning in advance, but this is just an opinion.
Danger, Will Robinson, danger.
Well, many people are under the impression it's because of striking the rock. He did not do what God had requested of him. He struck the rock instead of speaking to the rock. He had no faith in God. Well, another opinion has been led, because what Moses does say in Deuteronomy, he said it both in this Torah portion and in last week's Torah portion, I was not allowed to go into the land because of you. that kind of seems a strange thing to put the blame on the people for your mistake. Well, what has been suggested here is we will have to go and read, we will have to take a look at both this week's portion and last week's portion, because I think it's smashed between this week's portion and last week's portion where it's mentioned. Moses does not mention Mount Sinai, or he just briefly glances over it. He does not mention the traveling in the wilderness. He does not mention a lot of the trials and tribulations, but he does mention two important events in detail. The first one was in the Torah portion, Yithro, which is where it deals with Yithro coming, bringing Moses' family, and also suggesting he should have judges, something to balance out the load. Because what Moses was going through day in, day out, he was constantly talking to the individuals, answering their questions, fixing their problems. He was their ultimate judge, and he was, in a way, a lifeline to God, if you will, if you don't mind me using that phrasing. I'll get back to that phrasing here shortly. And then the other section that was mentioned was the situation of the spies. And we all know the story of the spies. The people say, let's do the spy thing. Let's spy out the land first off. And both Moses and God said, sure, go ahead, do it. And so Moses picks 12 individuals, each a representative of a tribe, which could possibly be an elder, could possibly be a judge. It doesn't matter. It's still the subject of, it's a representative of that tribe.
A leader.
They go, a leader, yes. They go into the land, come back with the bad report, and they start wailing. The people are frightened, and Moses says, why are you frightened? Don't be frightened. God's with you. But they don't listen. So the way this has been presented to me, I will try my best to present it to you. What I dare suggest is that one of the things that transpired is, in a roundabout way, Moses gave a poor representation of God to the people, and that is why he was not allowed in the land. Which is why the striking of the rock fits to the situation, as that could be one of the situations, but another situation could be this. And I wish I had PowerPoints and other such things to go into detail on this subject. But...
Oh, no. If there's PowerPoints, we'll be here all night. No.
I'm not that bad. I'm not as bad as my father.
No, you don't understand. Whenever there's a meeting and somebody's got a PowerPoint, it goes on and on and on. And people belabor a point. But yeah, why are you saying it this way here? Oh, geez. We're going to have a meeting to stop all these excess meetings. I mean, come on.
Well,
I'm messing with you, but I'm speaking the truth.
Yeah, I get that. Well, then based on the fact that I don't have the proper material to present to you guys, just remember the references I use, look them up for yourself, tell me what you think based on what I present. From what is shown, the way that it acts with the judges in Yithro is Moses at one point says, this burden is too much for me. I cannot bear these people alone. So, and I'm going to paraphrase as best as I can. So, children of Israel, can I choose judges among you to help judge you and then bring me the bigger problems? The children of Israel were like, sure, let's do that. And yes, I am paraphrasing big time. So,
okay, you remember you said that, because I have a caveat in there.
Uh-oh. Let's hear your caveat first before I go too much further.
If I remember right, he brings this before God, and the Most High, blessed be He, says, all right, choose for yourself leaders, and I'll 70 leaders, and I'll put some of your anointing on them.
That is true. Though I have noticed that in Deuteronomy, Moshe does word it a little bit differently.
True, and we don't know what came first. You know what I'm saying? Who brought it before who? Who's making that decision?
True. Because, yeah, in the Torah portion, it sounds like God is making the choice. In Devarim, in the Torah reading, it does sound like Moshe is making that choice. And it is because of that is why I think you're kind of helping my point once I actually sum it up. Moses does portray that the burden is too much to bear. It is hard for him to carry all the situations of the people to God and answer their questions. So he asks for the judges, and whatever is the harder ones, he will deal with. Whatever is the ones that the judges can handle, they will deal with. Well, as we proceed onward, let's go to the spies. In the spies, there is that situation where after they start wailing and lamenting of the situation, Moses says to them, "Don't be afraid. God is always with you. He's always carried you through everything that has transpired. So why would you doubt him now that he cannot carry you now? Stay faithful to him. He will help you. He will guide you." But they still ignore it.
True.
And I will say that this is where the connection does click in. Granted, there are a lot more similarities between these two stories, and I would need to go through all the Hebrew to show the different similarities, but I don't have it right now with me. So I'll just stick with this one similarity, and that similarity is, in a roundabout way, Moses was the children of Israel's lifeline to God.
Yep.
Through Moses, they got to deal with God, speak with God. They got to talk with the Father.
Yep.
So in a roundabout way, Moses had become a earthly father as the equivalent, an earthly equivalent to the heavenly Father, if you will.
Okay.
To the children of Israel, this is how they viewed it. And I can see it for those who don't mind taking under consideration. They've been slaves for the longest time. If you've been a slave for that long, how likely are you to think like a free man and less like a slave? The person
Yeah.
directly above you is the leader above you. He's your father. He's your father. He's your mother. He's your great grandmother. Whatever that phrase was on Good Burger. But Moses had said to the people, "You are too heavy to carry. I cannot carry you alone. I need to put you down. I need to stop carrying you and have other people help me carry you." So, in that regard, we jump back to the spies. When Moses says, "Why are you fearful? Why do you fear God cannot carry you? God has carried you from here. Why do you think he cannot carry you from there?"
True.
With that in mind, because the children of Israel did not listen to Moses with the spies, I dare say what transpired would be this: Heavenly Father, earthly Father, it doesn't matter. I was put down by my father once, my earthly father. Who's to tell me that I won't be put down again by my heavenly Father?
Mm.
Who's to
So
say that I
again,
will not be let down?
they're acting like spoiled children.
Yeah. And it is through that has been another suggested reason why Moses was not allowed into the land. One, there is the striking of the rock, but in the striking of the rock, he showed the same action, the same representation as what the children of Israel showed with the spies.
Okay.
And hence, because of that, he says, I was not allowed into the land because of you," is because Moses never intended it. It was not Moses' intention to be a father to these individuals. He was just supposed to be the one to guide them to the land.
Right.
And he kept telling them, these commandments came from God. They didn't come from me, they came from God. But
Right.
the children of Israel probably just came to the conclusion, you're a representation of God. It was me coming to you with all of my problems that gave me my one and only lifeline to God.
Okay.
So in a roundabout way, you are not God, but you are a representation of God. And because you failed as a representation, why should I believe you that the true heavenly Father will not forsake me? And so it is because of that is why
I see what you're saying.
and so that is why God said, you did not do what was necessary. You did not teach them according to what I wanted. Plus, they are also viewing you as a father, and there can truly be only
One.
me. So
There could be only one. No.
yes, in a roundabout way, that's probably what God was saying. But it's just an opinion. So God said, you can't go into the land. Joshua will lead them.
Well, there is a side story there. The serpent that Moses made to set up in front of the children so that if anybody was bit by a snake, they could look at it and be healed. The story goes is that it was destroyed not because it was a graven image, okay, but because the people would rely upon it too much, and therefore it was destroyed. Because if they had relied upon it so much, it would have usurped the place of God, and that can't happen,
That's exactly right. I can see that. That makes perfect sense. It was a situation of God has said, even if it was not the intention for the object to begin with, it has become what I don't want it to become, so it can no longer exist.
Right.
Otherwise, I think Moshe and this staff and this bronze serpent probably would have both gone into the land.
Yeah. Let me put it another way. The temple, okay, could have become a symbol that the people would have prayed to versus the fact that it was God's footstool here on earth. And it being destroyed twice, and we just got past the ninth of Av.
Yes.
And so anything that interposes itself between God and us can become an idol, no matter what it is, whether it's a building, whether it's a vehicle, whether it's your spouse. That can be interposed between the Most High, blessed be He, and us. And that's not supposed to happen. So
Exactly.
is that your wrap up, or?
That was the point I was trying to get across, is this is another form of the striking of the rock. Moses, in the striking of the rock, did exactly what the children of Israel did involving him with the spies. They showed a lack of acceptance in the direction.
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Sorry. I just
You're good.
that I had to throw that in there. So
You're good.
yeah, but all right. Well, what I wanted to talk about is the oral law, the oral Torah, and it was oral, and now it's written down. Now it's the Gemara, the Mishnah, Torah, all these different things.
The Talmud. Yeah.
The Talmud, yes, but I mean, well, those others are versions of it, from different writers. So, but I submit to anybody who's willing to listen to an opinion, a point of view. that chapter 5, verse 28, 29, and 30, which I'll read real quick. But as for you, stand here with me, and I will speak to you all the commandments, the statutes, the ordinances, which you will teach them, that they may do them in the land which I give them to possess. Keep them to perform them as the Lord your God has commanded you. Do not turn aside either to the right or to the left. In all ways which the Lord your God has commanded you, you shall go, in order that you may live, and that it may be well with you, and so that you may prolong your days in the land you will possess. So what we know was written down were just the commandments, right? That's, God's finger wrote on the stone these commandments. Moses broke the first set, so Moses had to hew out a pair of stones and go up, and God inscribed them again. So it's not, the movie, I give you these 15, crack, boy, 10 commandments. It's not where, something else was written down. There are schools of thought that, that the tablets were written on front and back, and that, they could have been, major bullet points in a PowerPoint presentation. It goes on and on. And so
those ancient aliens, they always make their bullet points.
Right. So here, this speaks about God teaching Moses the commandments, yes, but also the statutes and the ordinances, which you will teach them. God gave Moses more information about just the 10 commandments. Again, as your dad will point out, the idea of a data burst that I came up with a long, long time ago is the main point in the PowerPoint, and then all the other teachings are okay, if this happens, 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 and so on and so forth. Those are the statutes and the ordinances. These are all the rulings that God showed Moses how to make in accordance with the commandments. So the fact that these aren't written down on stone tablets, just the commandments are, is a way to say, and I believe accurately, that this is the beginning of, and I'm not sure when this is said to him, when in the whole journey with the Exodus from Egypt. But I mean, we probably go and look and find out when he told him to him. But then again, we run into the point that Torah is not necessarily chronological, it's topical. It can be chronological, but in general, it's topical. So aside from that, we don't know when, not exactly, but these are examples of God saying, because Moses is having this written down, that there is an oral. There is a way to make just judgment. Okay, judge justly. Righteous judgment. How? By the Torah. Why? Because God said so. But really, yes. So you get all of these other things that are written down in the oral law. And I'm not talking about the arguments between rabbis, okay? Where
you can marry a girl at 13.
Right. I'm not talking about the arguments between rabbis. I'm talking about what's written down in what you would consider the oral law, the teachings of Moses. And the oral law is the teaching of Moses, because this is God delivering to Moses, Moses disseminating to the people, instructing proper judgment, giving examples of proper judgment, teaching proper judgment. And that's all of Torah. That's why we have the Torah, is to show, okay, this happened. What was the right ruling? Now, the man gathering firewood on Sabbath. Difficult to find that one out unless you actually dig real deep. And I'm not saying I know the answer, but the argument is there. Why was it such a bad thing that he was gathering firewood? The assumption is he was gathering it to sell, which is illegal on Sabbath. The man who pronounced the name of the Most High, blessed be He, and cursed. That's obvious, at least in my mind. That's obvious why he was put to death. But there's some of these other extraneous things. The one I like to give is Zachor's daughters and the judgment that came around because of that. It was right to give the land that their father had coming to him to them. The other tribes, or actually the other people in the tribe, were right to say, well, look, if they get married, then the possession's going to go out of our, it's going to diminish ours and go to some other tribes. Well, they were told, hey, you can marry within the tribe, which was huge. We're talking several thousands of people. So, we're not going to get into marrying your first cousin and all that kind of stuff. There was enough diversity where they could marry somebody inside of the tribe and still maintain the land inside the tribe, the land that was given to them by law.
I mean, heck, we had roughly 600,000 individuals, if not more, in all 13. I'm going to say 13 tribes because, as we all know, the priesthood was not really counted among the 12, but that's because
and
it had
don't
its
you
own
count
law.
it among the 12. That's a bad thing. No, you are correct. You are correct because the Levites were given just the cities of refuge, and they were maintained by them, and they had certain boundaries and all outside. 1,000 for a certain amount, and then 2,000 for the cubits for the additional amount. So these were their inheritances. It wasn't a plot of land like a mile square, 640 by 640 acre. It wasn't mountains or whatever. It was there were these towns, these cities, and in general they were the cities that the blood avenger could not go into to kill the person who had killed their kin. They had to be kept at bay. If they caught them outside of the city, outside of the boundaries, then yeah, they can kill them. But oh, hey, Shabbat Shalom. So in that, all of the other things are displayed. All of these well, okay, let's just call it what it is, study in law, because that's what it is. It's a study in how to judge justly. So, it's the basis for believing that there is an oral Torah. Okay? Again, not the arguments between the rabbis, although that's important.
Are you trying to say that the oral Torah was essentially the Torah we have currently was essentially the highlights of the adventure and whatever was taught in between?
I would say it's the overview because, and I'm not trying to be crude, everybody, but it doesn't say anywhere in the Torah that Moses went to the bathroom. Okay?
And we also know from many different teachings and instructions, the way it is worded is, if you are planning to study Torah, you need a teacher to follow, and the main reason and understanding behind that is not everything is told to you in Torah. You learn a lot in Torah, but there are many times that even someone reading it for the first time will go, wait a minute, why is it this way? What does this mean?
Right.
And so you need someone to teach you, and the teaching about it is the oral Torah.
Yes. Yeah. And it's all about, again, just judgment. Judgment the way God describes it and prescribes it. it's all the minutia about how things were done, why they were done, and what reference to what law they were done under. So you could say that the arguments between the rabbis were one law scholar having a discussion with another law scholar and saying, hey, what are the references for this? Well, on this hand, it's this, but on this hand, it could be this. And this over here, but wait a second, what about this over here? So you can actually learn from the discussion that they're having. I'm not saying I would learn. I mean, I'm not a Torah scholar. I'm not a yeshiva student, but
one of the ways to teach the students about Torah and Talmud was having them both discuss with one another. And
right.
The way it would work is if one lost their point on how to discuss, the other one would help them gain their point. It would be like, but this rabbi said this, but this person says this, but this person says this, and they forget, and he says, but you were supposed to say this person says this.
Right.
Thank you.
Right.
And then they would go back to it. And it's
Right.
that iron sharpens iron concept of
right.
It is the understanding of Torah that they seek. It is the betterment of knowledge that they
Right.
seek, so they better understand what God's purpose and understanding for Torah is.
Correct. It is not an argument that they are having so much as a discussion of the law and why a certain rabbi ruled this way versus this way, and why this rabbi over here in a different town in a different country ruled this way versus that way. So
exactly.
Right. So, and that's what I wanted to show, that this could be, in Frank's opinion, that this is a reason that the oral law was written down, so that because for thousands of years it was just spoken. But this is why it was written down, so that in case we lost the sages, heaven forbid, they would still be there in written form for us to listen to, for us to read, for us to seek advice from. And every yeshiva student would go over these and over these and over these. And to find just judgment is a good thing. To find proper judgment is a good thing. Don't knock it. Don't knock it. It's difficult enough to find justice in this world today. When you trust the courts and you trust men and women. And I say it that way simply not to slight women. It's just that women have come into the law profession later in the timeline. So most of the bad decisions rest squarely on the shoulders of the men. Most, not all. So it is.
I mean, who did they have to learn from but the multiple generations of men's understanding of the rules and regulations?
Exactly.
So that's what
And,
you were trying to get at.
right. Yeah. And you have to have a concern for your fellow man, your fellow person, to want just judgment for them. Not yourself, not only yourself, but just judgment for them. That's what's important. And without having that kind of a compassionate heart, you're not going to find it. And I'm sorry, but somebody who hurts another person willfully, just judgment for that person who does the hurting is for them to suffer, not for the victim, not for the victim's family. No, that's not the way God writes down his laws. God does not write, oh, and the criminal gets away with this. He doesn't write that. Man wrote that. So you have to weigh why you got the Miranda decision versus why you let a criminal loose on a technicality. The Miranda decision came through a person being denied their rights. Not unjustly accused, but being denied their rights through onerous reasons. So the criminal who gets let loose on a technicality, yeah, but still, if there's a videotape's done away with. If there's a CD with video on it that shows any one of us, face and everything else, committing a crime, that person's guilty. Unless you can find some place where that video was doctored. If you can find where that video was doctored, okay, all bets are off the table.
Though I would advise some level of caution on that subject, since we are talking about law now, is there is a policy that I have heard both from my father and from a bunch of the old dead guys of the understanding of rules and regulations involving Torah. And that whole mindset is, if everyone votes that this person is guilty, the guilty is let free.
Yep.
Because there's not one person who is willing to represent that individual
Right.
and prove their innocence.
Right. And that's the case that Matrix. By the way, Matrix is back in Oklahoma.
Sweet.
Yeah, and he works a tinker down the hallway from your dad.
Oh,
yeah.
Then we might have to tell Papa once he gets back.
Oh, he
so
knows.
that
He knows.
Oh, he knows.
So,
okay.
Yeah.
Sweet.
So the thing was that the case came before these rabbis, and they were unwilling to hear it. Well, this woman was talking to a bunch of students, and these were students of a rabbi. And the students said, "Oh, wait a second, we've got to bring this to the rabbi. He's got to hear this case." Well, they brought her to the rabbi, and she described her case, and she was crying, and and he said, "Okay, I will get your case heard." And the students were like, "Rabbi, you're not going to hear the case?" He said, "Bribes are not allowed. Even the tears of this woman are a bribe." He'd get her case heard, but he would not hear her case because that would be considered a bribe. He took himself out of the judicial situation because he was afraid of, conflict.
His emotions being affected on his judgment based on her tears.
Conflict of interest. Yeah. So, I don't know that we're going to see a righteous court until Mashiach comes back. So
may it be in our lifetime.
May it be so in our lifetime, and speedily. But
so how do we sum this up? I mean, we covered 2 bullet points out of a Torah portion that has a lot.
Yeah.
Then again, though, Then again, though, what Torah portion doesn't have a lot? Whether it's a single portion or a double portion.
True. Well, I guess people can always vayekanan.
You plead?
Yeah.
Vayetkanan?
Yeah. Can always plead with God. Okay, God, help me understand this. Let me explain. No, it's too much. Let me sum up. Yeah. It is about law. It is about understanding. It's about what happens when you infract on the law. Even Moses, you could say, infracted upon the law because there were these reasons that God did not let him in to the land. You could say that was an infraction. I think, honestly, in my opinion, that would be a proper way of looking at it. Again, because Moses was so high in the order of things, even the smallest infraction would, cause problems. Today in the judicial system, if you were a high judge, Supreme Court judge, and you infract certain laws, then you can be impeached from the court. You can be removed from the court. You can be fired from the court. So, and for stuff that would only get a normal person, prison time or even a fine, because you are breaking the bonds that hold you as a judge in relationship to the people and to the law. So that's my opinion.
Well, my wrap up on all of this is, well, let's see. How would I wrap this up?
In a paper bag.
Oh, I don't have any. I've got plastic. What I can see is God has ways to bend, to mold, to meld. We've seen it in a lot of different places in Torah. We've seen it with the daughters. We've seen it with the men who came back from war and wanted to do Shabbat. We've seen it in multiple accounts.
Well, they wanted to do not Shabbat so much as they wanted to do...
sorry, not Shabbat.
Pesach.
Passover,
Yeah.
yes. And we've seen it in multiple accounts where God bends, God works with the people to come to a conclusion.
Right. And I wouldn't say that he bends. I would say he has certain things written into the law to where people go, okay, this is an exception. You can do it this way. Okay.
He has his caveats to the rule.
Yes.
There we go. And I have a younger brother trying to sneak to and from different rooms behind me.
Zay, I saw you.
Yes, you were seen, Gooberhead. But on the aspects that are important to him, he does not leave leeway. You will understand it this way or not at all.
True,
and the closer you are to the flame, the less caveats you have, the less ways to avoid the ultimate judgment you have.
Correct.
And when you view it that way, no disrespect to those who want to hope for God's return, because I want to hope for God's return as well.
Well, yeah.
But thank God he's distanced himself from us so that we can make those mistakes and not die.
Right.
I will forever and a day praise God for his mercy on that aspect.
Yes.
Because I know I know that I've made mistakes in the past that, because I did not do it by Torah's ruling on doing these aspects, I would probably find leprosy on me, as we've put it as leprosy,
right,
or God would say enough is enough. Stop doing that.
Yeah.
And I as an individual continue to try to work on bettering myself. And I, as an individual, have also encountered moments like Moses that I have shown today. The whole aspect of, I did not mean this to happen. This was not my intention, but it happened anyways because this is the way people took what I had said or what I had done. Because to a lot of individuals, actions speak louder than words.
Yeah.
And for Moses' situation, his actions, his willingness to judge, spoke louder than his words whenever it came to the spies.
Well, yeah, and it is a shame because Moses. I'm sorry, Moses displayed the most compassion and the most restraint with dealing with the children of Israel. I I don't think I could have ever had that kind of compassion or restraint. I know I would have gotten mad at them sooner than he did. I don't know what to tell you, but that's just the way it is. So, have we come to the end?
I believe this is the end.
This is the
But
end, my
but
friends.
but this is not the end.
No, it's only
Those
the end for this week.
tho- those this is not the end, dear wolf. We have not seen our end. So a quote from something completely different. Don't worry about it.
Yes, I can. Yeah. Okay. So anyway, um, so
We
well, I guess
thank you.
yeah, I guess it's thank you everybody for listening to us, watching us. Um, we need more people to write in questions and stuff, or comments, anything. Let us
Yes.
know you're listening.
Yes.
Otherwise we're just sitting here talking to ourselves.
Exactly. We loved the comments made today, and we can't wait to see if other people have more. We hope you've enjoyed listening to Two and a Half Opinions. I'm Yishai,
I'm Frank, the irreverent one.
and Not the Rebbe will probably be back
In a couple weeks.
in a couple weeks.
Yeah. So I think that's kind of cute. I am limping frog. I'm not sure who that is. I have an idea, but I'm not sure who that is. So anyway, thanks everybody.
Thanks
Thanks
for
for
joining.
right.
Shavua Tov,
Lila
Laila
Tov
Tov,
Lehitro
Bilhitrot.
and Shabbat Shalom. Enjoy.
Mizmor shir, shir le'yom ha'shabos. 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 The whole